Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the classic symbols of Yule. And then we're going to be doing some arts and crafts from the bounty of Minerva's temple.
And Jen's kitchen.
And Jen's kitchen. So a very sacred gathering here today, which is why we're laughing so much. All right, so what slide do we have first? Mistletoe?
Let me see. Yeah, you want me to move to number 2?
Yeah. Should be mistletoe, then I think wreath and bough. That what came after
Okay,
that.
it's not moving. There we go. Just a second. Double click. Okay.
Mistletoe.
Oh, that's me.
Yep.
So mistletoe is associated with the female element, and it also holds much importance as it was used by Druid priests in special ceremonies during their winter solstices. They believed that its green leaves represented the fertility of the mother goddess, and that its white berries represented the seed of the forest god or the oak king. Druids would harvest the mistletoe from the sacred oak trees with golden scythes, knives, and maidens would gather them underneath the trees to catch the falling branches, preventing them from falling to the ground. For if they fell to the ground, it was believed that all the sacred energy in the plant would pour back into the earth, and therefore it would be unusable. The branches and sprigs were then divided and distributed to be hung over doorways as protection against thunder. Sally would like that very much. Lightning and other evils. Mistletoe was also worn as an amulet for fertility or hung above the headboard for the same thing. Next slide.
Wreath.
That's me. Okay. So obviously, a wreath is a circle, and that has all the symbolism of the circle. No beginning, no ending. Death, rebirth, life, death, rebirth, or like I like to say, every new beginning comes from some other beginnings, and that is really sums up the season perfectly, because when you are in the midst of winter, 500 years ago, in Northern Europe, it's bleak, very bleak. No electricity, no heat, and you're looking at your storehouses, and you're trying to think half full, they're half full, we're gonna make it. They're not half empty, they're half full. So that is why they would take these evergreen trees into their homes, and they would take some of the boughs and they would form this circle, symbolizing that, yes, this is an end, but we will have a new beginning. The light is coming back. So we're going to use greens and reds and whites and golds, because that's the color of the seasons. And you can make a wreath at Beltane, cover it with pretty flowers. But this time of year, you've got the green of the evergreen trees. You've got the red of the holly berries. You've got the snow on the ground, the white snow on the ground. And as an encouragement to bring back that sun, you're going to put gold. That's the and children, that's the meaning of Christmas. That's the true meaning of Christmas. That the sun will come back again.
Not such a big amount.
Just said that one, Charlie Brown.
So when we do our crafting in a little bit, you've got choices here. This wreath was made with 3 pipe cleaners, white, green, and red. Twisted one end, braided it, twisted the other end, made a circle out of it. I put a little sprig of eucalyptus right inside between the pipe cleaners. It's easy. You don't, I didn't even use any glue on this. And I used some lace to make a little hanger. And there you go.
That's pretty.
Mhm. Maybe you want to use some of these artificial flowers. That's quite easy because there's wire inside of them, see? So all you have to do is spin them around and then,
That's a whiny one.
yeah, this one looks like a grape.
Oh, that's very pretty.
Right. And I use the bell as the hanger.
I like them.
Yeah. So you could, that again, no glue there at all. Now this one, we do have glue if you need it. There's a little bit of glue on this one. So many years ago, we were at Mitch's store. Mitch's owns a music store. And I mentioned that, he broke a guitar string. And I said, oh, don't throw that away. Mama Gina makes bangle bracelets out of her broken guitar strings. They're very powerful because it's got all of her music inside. And so he went to a drawer and he just handed me guitar strings, just a whole bunch of them. They're not broken. They come right out of the package like this. You just have to secure it. It's wire. And then the different notes will be different gauges.
Oh, that's awesome.
I tied a bell on it. And then I made some leaves out of this cardboard. And they're very, now I have to put that on some kind of hanger. They're very simple, but the whole idea is to keep that shape of the circle. Never ending, new beginning, round and round the circle of the year. So that'd be fun. I thought that would be fun to do. And the reason why I took bells to go with the wreath, it's always nice to have bells on the wreath. And some of the symbolism of bells. 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 This time of year, you hear bells everywhere. Christmas bells, silver bells, church bells, so many bells, bells. The reason that some of the ways in which witches use bells is to disrupt negative or stale energies. Okay, you make that bell sound, it causes vibrations. Vibrations go through the air in waves and break up any other. Well, it can be good or bad, so be careful. But it can also fill an area with a pleasant sound. A pleasant sounding bell will fill an area with good vibrations. And so why it's very important when you're looking for a bell to be used in your tools that you find one that sounds pleasant to you. You don't want just clank, clank, clank. Right?
Bell.
A cowbell. Oh, if that's what you're into. I don't know. There's uses for that too. And you can use your bell then to clear and charge your crystals and other metaphysical items. You're kind of like resetting them like with a tuning fork because crystals have vibrations. Everything has a vibration, and that pleasant bell is going to get it in line with you. Yeah.
Like a singing bowl, would that be kind of like a bell?
Yes, same thing, same idea, the sound healing. Bells can be used for healing. A lot of times they're used in meditation, in yoga practices. You sound the bell and the different sounds actually correspond to the different chakras. A low bell, and your root chakra all the way up to the little tinkling of your crown chakra bells. A bell hung on a door is said to grant wishes and draw prosperity into the home. Now, a few weeks from now, we're going to be ringing a lot of bells on our Krampus run. We're going to be running all through the yard, all through the house. you guys can run in the front yard if you want, run down the street and back, I don't care. All you're gonna be doing,
It's off the front.
you're gonna be putting on a mask, so nobody's gonna know who you are, and you're gonna wear a mask, and you'll be ringing those bells, and all you're doing is encouraging prosperity and good energy to come back to my home, so I thank you for that, I don't mind that at all. Some keep bells on their altars to use in the formal rituals. You can start the ritual with the bell, or you can end the ritual with the bell. Lots of times you use a chime to do that. It marks the beginning or the end. Visualization is very important in magic, and you can use that bell to visualize that sound wave, creating a dome over your working and protecting it. And then at the end, ring the bell again and send that energy off and clear that dome. Fairies love bells, and so you can use them to please them and distract them. Tinkle, tinkle, tinkle.
Oh,
Okay.
well, the shell.
Oh, what was it? What was that? What was that? Okay.
It's let the door open.
Right.
Go in.
Okay. So you can use bells to balance the mind and represent some of the elements. Of course, a wind chime, that sort of sounding bell would be great to represent the air. But it's a sound wave, so you could possibly use it for water. That school bell, that fire bell could be, imagine doing a ritual where all the quarters are called with different types of bells.
Like they had in the church.
Yeah. What kind of bell would you use for Earth?
The big boom.
Right? Yeah, the gong. We could use the gong for the Earth. I'm thinking we might be hearing that. Jen's like,
Students, take notes.
I'm sorry, whatever day that is. I will be there. The shape of the bell is said to be the feminine shape. You can invoke a goddess with the sound of the bell. Therefore, the energy that it produces is creative, fertile, feminine, except that big booming one. There's a little bell in all of us. I think that that's all I have to say about bells. Anybody else have anything to say about bells or rings?
Krampus bells are best.
Krampus bells, witches bells.
Warding and protecting with the bells.
Yeah, I was gonna say, usually when you're clearing out a house or something, you'd wanna bring that bell into anything. Yeah, just.
You're the really
yeah.
annoying bell
To
to banish.
banish,
Yeah,
and a pretty bell to fill it back up again. Yeah, if you're living in a place where you can't light candles or burn incense, you could go through your home with a bell.
And it ultimately makes sense what you were saying about it being the feminine part. And I never really thought about it until now, not just the shape, but when you're clanging it, it just grows like goddess power, it generates the
Radiates
everything.
out and so yeah, so after the end of the presentation, we will be making some wreaths with bells.
Ooh, the bells.
Bells.
What's next?
The Holly King.
The Holly King. So the Holly King and the Oak King is a very old story that describes the passage of the seasons. The Oak King stands for virility, the summer, growth, regeneration. His time begins on the winter solstice when he battles with the Holly King to reclaim the world. But the story that doesn't get talked about so much is the battle that happens at the summer solstice, the very peak of the Oak King's power, when the Holly King comes to bring rest and relaxation back into the world. And that is the battle where the Holly King wins. And the Holly King then rules all the way through the waning time of the year. So when you think about Holly King and the waning time of the year, it's a lot like the waning time of the moon. It's a time of vanishing, a time of closing, a time of rest. If you ever start feeling slower, sleepier, a little less energetic in the winter, that is a sign of the Holly King's influence. So the Holly King is often depicted, as his name suggests, wreathed with boughs of holly around him. He is closely associated with plants like the evergreen. In some traditions, his consort, maybe like a lady of the winter, winter goddess. But the Holly King represents the spirit of the darkest time of year, the time when, so his power is at the winter solstice, the longest night. That's when the battle takes over to switch between the dark and the light. So you'll often see images of the winter time of a old man with a long white beard who might be dressed in reds and greens. And you might see images of him. And you might think it's Santa Claus, but it's really not, because remember, Santa Claus was pagan too. So that is the Holly King.
Cool. Now we have the evergreen trees.
Ah, the evergreen trees, which are, of course, sacred to the Holly King. So, oh Yule tree, your leaves are faithful ever, not only green in summertime, but in winter time. So, the evergreen tree. Who is planning on having an evergreen tree in their house this winter?
Turn the camera around.
Turn the camera around.
I can only imagine who would have possibly.
What a surprise.
Tree. It's even got a pentagram on top.
Yeah. What could possibly be more pagan than inviting a tree into your house where it's nice and warm during the coldest time of year? The concept of bringing a Yule tree or an evergreen tree into the home dates back to the time of Germanic paganism, when it was thought that this was a way of offering a safe shelter to the local forest spirit and the landlord here inside the home. Because guess what? If you're cold, they're cold, bring them in. So
They caught and killed them and bring them in.
oh no, never. Don't dare. Don't even reject it.
Nah, they just stole it from Charlie Brown and his crew.
Yeah, but oh no, Charlie Brown stole it from the pagan. So some of the symbolism, why is it an evergreen tree and not an oak tree or a maple tree or a larch tree? Well, obviously the evergreen tree, as the Song of Us suggests, it's the tree that stays green and green all through the darkest time of winter. You don't see the effect so much here in Florida, but I promise you, go anywhere in the northern hemisphere, north of like the meridian. So northern forests, Minnesota, Canada, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wisconsin. Walk through those woods in the dead of winter when everything is buried under 3 or 4 feet of snow.
No.
Okay, no, thank you.
I don't want to.
I'll take your
I do.
But here's the magic of it. 'Cause you want to do it when it's above zero properly, but here's the magic of it. Everything will be completely white except for the evergreen trees. And that contrast holds the promise of summer, no matter how cold it is, even when it is 30 below. You can step outside, you can see the pine trees, you can hear the wind moving through the pine trees, and it will remind you of summer, no matter how cold it gets.
So my question is,
Mhm.
the significance of the evergreen trees. So when you go in there, I just thought of the leaves of regular trees. They're in different shapes, but the evergreen trees, the leaves come as needles, like every individual needle, and then you group it together. That's how it's green, right? Does that have any
Yes,
significance?
Well, I mean, it's a conifer, so the way it works, well, Okay, I'm gonna skip the tree by all of you.
Makes it easy to hold the ornaments in there.
But not all evergreens have needles.
Not all evergreens have natives.
It's the sugar
Bruce, yeah.
content of the tree that
Yeah.
protects it.
Yeah, it's the sure content of the tree, but the point is these trees, because they do stay green all year round, they symbolize the passage of the season and the fact that it will someday return to summer. That wheel of the seasons, like what Alba was talking about, is really expressed in this idea of, you know, the evergreen tree and those are trees.
Next. Next is ye olde Yule log. That's me. That's a chocolate Yule log. Sprig of rosemary is a tree. That's really neat. Over here where people can see me.
And feel free to ad lib on what I wrote, Carl. I was planning on ad libbing anyway.
Okay. There you go. There we go. When I first read this, I thought, did I write this? Because it's exactly what I did earlier this week when I cut our piece of the Yule log. Oh, could you grab it?
Grab his Yule log.
Yep.
You cut it yourself?
Yeah, it's
That
part
is
of last
last
year's.
year's Christmas tree.
Oh, hardcore.
Yep.
Yeah.
You so good at that stuff.
Yule log. Okay, put this right here. All right, the Yule log is a specially cut section of the Yule tree, which is brought inside the home and burned. And normally, in the old world, that would have taken anywhere from 3 to 12 days. That's a discussion for another time. I was about to go into my Yule thing, but this is just about the log. It is thought to be a tradition based on the Germanic pagan winter solstice rituals. The way in which it burns, including the sparks and directions of the flames, can be used in divination. There's a lot of fire scrying happens at that time. It is unlucky to relight a Yule log after it has been lit, and is best to let it burn down completely. That's why they would bring in 100-foot tree and they just keep pushing it into the fire. The ashes can be used. I found this fascinating, and I wanted to clarify this. I looked this up, and it was part of my thing too. The ashes can be used in spells or as a fertilizer. And you can also light candles with the Yule log and make a wish. So Yule logs are good. And that's all I have about that.
Show everybody the little legs you put in.
Oh, yeah, and this,
Oh, it's okay.
and I know you can't see it right now, Balder, but possibly when you see the recording, I put little feet on it. See, this way we don't have the problem of when you put it down on something and these are lit, it decides to pour hot wax and fire all over everything. Safety first.
Yule log safety tips.
Next over.
Yep. One of the big things is lighting all the other candles in the house from the Yule log. So, and that's what I have for that. Good note. Back over to the computer. Yule log.
Not chocolate.
Big, it's heavy, it's wood.
Not chocolate.
By the way, I call making a chocolate Yule log for the Yule potluck. I call it right now.
Okay.
All you.
All you.
We've discussed the ins and outs.
And I will put a sprig of the Grove rosemary as a tree on top.
Oh.
That's, yeah.
I saw that picture, I was like, ooh, I'm inspired now.
Cool.
And then maybe I'll find like a little tiny, some of the little tiny trees and be like a little grove on top.
That's gotta be Colorado or maybe Alaska. The picture you put for the
Oh.
thank you with all the evergreen trees going
Yeah.
over the mountain.
It was pretty,
Mhm.
it had trees. Do you know I like trees, everybody?
I heard that once.
I had to put my finger on it.
Right. To mention it.
Made the name and the frolicking.
Say.
Yeah, that was the last slide.
Does anybody online have anything to add?
Any other Yule symbols you really love this time of year?
Somebody sent the chat. Let's see, where are we looking? Da-da-da-da. Oh, Amethyst had one there, all bells, chimes and gongs, etc. resonate to the core. I refuse, and then I refuse to contribute to the death of trees by having a cut tree. For fewer years of, a potted Norfolk pine that are decorated, yeah,
Mhm.
that'd be,
Yeah.
that'd be. a
I
good one.
had one of those for a couple of years.
Oh, no.
But be
I
careful with
feel-
Norfolk pines, don't plant them near your house.
Well, it was never
Oh, okay,
planted.
thank you, yes.
It was never planted. It unfortunately died in the summer, but I
What is-
tried.
What is it, Norfolk, whatever?
Up in there.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Huge, tall, those huge, tall pine trees.
A big
Yeah,
fucking
everywhere.
tree.
They used to be
Yeah.
everywhere, but they.
And nothing grows around.
Around.
And they break off really easy.
Yeah.
An 8 or 9 foot section of it weigh 10,000 pounds. They suck up that much water.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah,
search
and
for
your lightning,
water.
like
My
sounds like
neighbor,
Hollywood.
my neighbor with the pool was like panicked.
Yeah, they go their own.
Somebody's spot.
I've had that happen. In Bradenton, we actually had, a Norfolk pine tunnel into the side of the pool. We had to cut it down. Oh, it didn't get break through the concrete because the concrete was a foot and a half thick.
It was
But-
dead in there.
It went right, and you could see the lump where it was pushing on the wall.
Good.
Yep.
Hey,
Hey, those are
eliminate the
badass
humans
trees.
and the trees will take over.
That's right.
They are badass trees.
Anybody
Well,
wants
I
an example of that, check out Chernobyl 30 years later.
Yeah.
It's an actual documentary. It's really cool.
So I really like the hanging of the garland, but that goes with the evergreen, correct? Because it's like the hanging of the green that ties in with the
Yeah.
evergreen part
Yeah.
of it, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, it's all part of it. If you're cold, they're cold, bring them inside.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so what are we gonna start with?
Should I stop the recording?
Yeah, let's stop
Okay.
recording. Then I can see.
Oh, where'd that? I was over here no more. Stop.
And breathe.